turn your Humminbird on, the very first thing I tell people to do is under the Helix menu, you're going to have your menu button on the side of the keypad there. You're going to press that menu button twice, and it's going to pull up this advanced menu over here on the side. If you go to the top bar there, you'll go to see your setup tab, and then you go down to your user mode. It's going to come in angler mode right out of the box. You want to push that to custom mode, and when you bump it over to custom mode, it's just going to open up way more advanced menu settings there. When you don't have that opened up, you're not going to be able to get to a few little settings that I'm going to tell you about as far as when you're setting up down imaging and so forth. So the very first thing I tell people to do is turn that user mode to custom. It's just going to give you way more menu settings that you can go in and kind of tinker with there. For the Solix guys that are listening or watching this, you'll just go press the home button, go to general, and then you can quickly toggle between angler and custom there. To start off with, this is probably the most important thing whenever you purchase a Humminbird unit is to get a good map card. There's two reasons for this, is A, navigational purposes, and this is kind of the, this helps you understand and find where to graph and start your search. Without a map, you're not going to know where the ledges are. You're not going to know where humps are. You're not going to know where to actually start your search at the console. So this is probably the most important tool, if not one of the most important tools on your boat. So the LakeMaster VX card just came out, probably the first, it's been out for about a year now. This is our new map card. We've got several prior versions of LakeMaster, but this one is all new revamped LakeMaster that comes in a regular and a premium. The main difference between the regular and the premium is the premium has the shader relief feature and Google overlay. This is how I set my map up. I always use the premium card because as it is worth the extra money, but you can simply go in here and check the shaded relief and the Google overlay, and it automatically shade the map for you. This is very easy to read, as the red is shallow water, then it transitions to green, yellow, and light blue, and then dark blue. So it's just very easy for the eye to see and kind of pick up where your ledges and depressions are. However, if you don't want to do that, you can also just buy the regular one. Still going to show the contours just how you like it, and then you can adjust your depth contours how you want it. So you can go in here to your depth highlight or shallow water highlight, most of which shallow water highlight people like to run red, just means danger. You need to stay away from it in 5 foot or less. And then you can do your shallow water highlight in different color options. So if you want to, you're catching fish in 5 to 10, you can do that 5 to 10 foot in green, 15 to 20 in yellow. You can customize the map how it sees your, how you see it fit for your particular application with there. Especially around here, one good feature is the water level offset. It can be used in both the VX regular and the premium, especially for the guys that are fishing Smith Lake or any lake that gets drawn down really low. You can go in here, and if you see on the app that your lake's 14 foot low, just go in here and go to the water level offset and just do -15, and it'll automatically shade the map for you. So where it's, it was water and now it's land, it'll actually show land on your map. Say like around this island, it'll actually extend the land out there. So you can always kind of keep up to date, because if you don't change that, you could be in some trouble when you're running there. So this is probably one of the most important tools, like I said. So does anybody have LakeMaster, like the older one? Does anybody have the new one yet? So the new ones, we've got actually one out there in display. So come see me afterwards in the booth if you want to kind of see where you're located at. We can actually go and actually see what your lake looks like as far as the 2D premium and whatnot there. One cool feature I didn't talk about, there is Smart Strike in both of these cards, and what that is you can actually program and pick what lake you're fishing, the weather conditions, if it's wind, the spring, summer, fall. You can program all the fishing conditions for that time of year, and it highlights in purple areas of best interest based on the algorithm. So if you can put summer in there, it'll highlight summer places. You can actually pick the species of fish you're going after. There's numerous options that you can program here, and it actually highlight on the map where it thinks that you should fish. And that's a pretty good tool. I've played with it a little bit, and in some places they're actually really good that it highlights there.
Is that the premium?
That's on both of them, the regular and the the premium on this VX card. To run this VX, you have to have a Humminbird Helix Gen 3 or Gen 4, and then all Solix and all Apex. So if you have an older version Helix, it will not work. It needs to be a Gen 3 or a Gen 4 on that. Any questions about LakeMaster?
Not necessarily on the new one. The smart, I know there was a LakeMaster Smart
Yep.
Strap.
Strap.
Is that there any requirement on what version?
It does not. You can run that on all of them. They've discontinued that, and they've just basically transitioned that feature into both of the cards now. Instead of having to, before, you'd have to buy that whole separate Smart Strike card separately. So it's all built in now. Good question. So we have a new One Boat Network app, and this is just giving you the ability to look at LakeMaster premium maps on your Apple or Android or iPad device here. You can actually go in here and purchase a yearly subscription to get the whole United States and for $24.99 for the whole chart view. So if you are, you're at home and you want to look at, lakes while you're sitting at the house, you don't have to go out there to your boat. You can pull this up on the iPad for $24.99. Now, when you buy a new LakeMaster VX card, there's going to be a 12-month free coupon code that's actually in the box. So don't throw away the box. Make sure to get that coupon code out, because you can apply it and you'll get 12 months free of the whole United States premium card on your Android or Apple or however, whatever your mobile device. So this is a cool tool there for you to just kind of look at maps at home there. So as you've, you purchase a Humminbird, you've got LakeMaster, now the next thing to do, side imaging, of course, is an important tool at your console. If you put this on the trolling motor, the image can get distorted because it's made to go kind of in a straight line mounted at the transom here. So for those of you who don't know how side imaging essentially works, is your boat is in the middle here, and the beam goes straight down and out. So both of this water column here is all of the black here, and essentially the down imaging beam is like an upside down ice cream cone, and imagine just slicing that in half. Half of the left side is showing up on this side, and the other half of that beam that's straight up under you is showing up on the right side. It's just displayed as a flat screen there. But essentially the down water column is straight down underneath you, and then it shoots out there. So particular this example, you can see the water column, you can see bait fish. The biggest thing with side imaging is you kind of have to treat it like I get a flashlight and I just walked around the room and I see the shadow behind everybody. You're going to tell what objects are based on the shadows that it casts. For instance, if a tree is sticking up all the way out of the surface and you idle beside it, that shadow is going to cast it all the way across the screen. If a brush pile is close to the bottom, that shadow is just going to be right next to the object. So you can tell, how tall objects are based on the shadow that it casts. Same way with this particular example, you can see the fish that's in the water column and their shadow is in that white circle there. So they're high, they're suspended, they're up off the bottom, and so the shadow is going to cast further out. Bait fish is the same way. This is measured, 90 foot is measured basically in the green there, and it's not measured from the boat to the actual side of the screen. Is a true 90 foot bottom there. So you're scanning 90 foot to each side in this particular example. One thing you want to basically note on this is the range. I like to keep my range at around 85 to 100 foot to get a good crisp detailed image with mega frequency. You can scan 150 to 175 foot, but I like to bump down my frequency just to provide that range, because frequency, there's 455, 800, and 1.2 megahertz. The higher the frequency, the less range that you're going to have. So it's going to be greater detail at close proximity, less than 100 foot. If you want to increase your range, you just bump the frequency down to 455, and it'll increase that range there. There's just some more examples, really just to see what soft bottom, hard bottom look like, and then as well as your brush pile. You can see the brush pile right there close to the bottom, however the shadow casts right there next to it. Soft bottom is going to display as kind of a darker image on the screen, where your hard bottom is going to be bright white. Color palettes are a big thing with this. It'll all show, but there are a few color palettes that show hard bottom a little bit better. But this is just kind of tells you that this is a harder bottom. And all you bass fishermen, you know, bass like hard bottom places, especially during this fall. So this is what School of Bass look like here. These are all around here, either Pickwick or Guntersville. Most of the time, they're actually going to display, because of the way the beam is, it's like you get a pen and you just drew, you know, a bunch of lines on the screen. It's not going to be where you have a white dot with a shadow. However, there are times where, and you can see in 2 examples, so you can see the white dot with the shadow behind it. But there are a bunch of times where it's just like, it looks like I got a little pen and I just drew a lot of lines on the screens just because of the way the angle that I went over those fish at. So if you see that, that's not a stick, that's, you know, a fish or a bass. But this just kind of gives you a mental picture on actually what School of Bass look like there. Any questions with side imaging? So down imaging is a tool that you'll use alongside when you're graphing at the console. So you have a down view and a side view going at the same time. This is the same picture that's showing up in your water column on the side imaging screen. Side image just cut in half, but your new data or straight up under the boat is going to be at the far right. Everything that's going to be on the left is past history. With a Helix, just note that whenever it gets to the end of the screen, you cannot cursor over. It does not record data, Solix and Apex. You can actually scroll back if you miss something. But your bigger game fish are going to show up as white dots, and of course your tree is going to show up as a tree there. Me personally, I like to run my down imaging at 455. I just feel like the cone angle is a little bit broader there. So I always run down imaging in 455. Deeper the water, put it in 455. If anybody's fishing Smith Lake or any deep water Martin anywhere around here, I like to run 455 on my down imaging there. So just in this particular example, these are 2 schools of bass here, same school, but the biggest thing I want to note on this is a point. The school was right at the waypoint on the up current side, and I graphed this school at the beginning from north to south, and I got this picture. Well, of course, you know, there is a school of fish there, and I know there's a school of fish there, but it doesn't really look good. You know, we always knew that there was there. So just by changing my angle, and this is an important tool that I teach people, is just by changing it and going from kind of west to east at a 45, then I drew this. Same setting, same school, just changed my angle by 45 degrees, and then I drew this picture, and there's 50 there. So just because you go over an object, brush pile, school of fish one time does not mean you're getting a really good, accurate depiction on what's actually there. So if you actually see something that remotely sparks your interest, I highly encourage you to just take an extra 30 seconds, just turn around and go over it at a slightly different angle, because I promise you the view is going to change. So make sure to just keep that in mind. If you have a spot that you know that looks really good, just take an extra pass and go over at this angle and maybe at another angle just to see what it looks like on the screen. This is another just example on what some school of fish look like here. You can see obviously bait fish just looks like a cloud, and then your bigger game fish are going to be the white dots there. I like to run, settings are you know, a constantly changing variable that depend on where you fish, what's the water conditions, where's the sun at. There's no set setting for any of this. My unit is different than his is different than yours. Even though we all have Helix units, every unit is different. Most of the time around here, in my experience, I've always bumped between like 12 and 16 on sensitivity and contrast. I've really never had one that I've had to go down below 10, because when you get a unit, it's going to be 10 and 10. I've never really had to play with it, you know, minus 10 or, you know, anything less than 10. So I encourage you, when you get out there, just bump it up to, you know, 14 and see how it looks on both sensitivity and contrast, and you may have to adjust, you know, 1 or 2 down a number as you go. This is not one thing that you can just set it on 14 and 14 and you're good from Guntersville all the way to Eufaula. It is always changing. So just keep that in the back of your mind. There's not a good set setting for everything. One important thing with down imaging, you will see there's a setting once you put your unit in custom mode, it's going to be called water column sensitivity. With this rain like we're having today, it's going to muddy up the river, and it's going to have so many microparticles and fuzz in your down imaging screen that you cannot really graph efficiently. There's a setting when you turn it into custom mode that it's going to say water column sensitivity. For the Helix guys, when you go menu twice, under the Sonar tab, 3 from the bottom, you'll see water column sensitivity. Decrease that number whenever it's muddy out there and you can't, and you're getting so, clutter in the screen. Decrease that to 2 and it'll immediately clear it up and it'll look just like this, a black screen. So if you want to increase the sensitivity, you can +1, +2, and it'll make all this just bright white pop. So you can increase the sensitivity without increasing your normal full screen sensitivity. It is just sensitivity that's in this black water column there. So just like tomorrow, if you go out with this rain, it is a must-have setting that you are to decrease that 1 or 2 in the negative to be able to see things efficiently. In the summertime, when you get a thermocline on some of these lakes, if you are to use that, it will completely, clear up the thermocline. So in the summertime, you may want to keep it on 0 because you want to know where that thermocline is. But it's really for muddy water situations. Any questions about down imaging? So 2D sonar has been around for a long period of time. Nothing has really changed with this besides chirp. So it has increased a little bit in a little detail. But overall, your bait fish are going to show up as clouds and your game fish are going to show as arches. People are going to run this view as well as down imaging and everything in conjunction with each other. So you're going to see the same thing with 2D as you are down imaging. It's just displayed on the screen differently. Down imaging, I like personally, it just shows up and I can kind of understand it better than an arch there with this. 2D shows fish very, very well with the arches. But brush pile, you're just going to get kind of a blob. That's where your down imaging comes into play there. How many people have 360? We got 1, 2. So for those you have not familiar with 360, this is actually a pod that goes on your Ultrex or Fortrex trolling motor. And this is basically essentially is read as a rotating side imaging transducer. As it's not a side imaging transducer, but it displays everything on the screen similar to side imaging. So when you're fishing up there in the front, this just gives you a 360-degree view around your boat at all times. So when you're fishing down a bank that you fished for 20 years, without this technology, you may have never known that there's a stump or a tree or lay down over here to the right side that you've been fishing by for years and years and years. So this is just a good tool to see what's around your boat. It works as it rotates every 180 degrees. You're getting a new and old picture there as it's rotating. You're reading it just like side imaging based on the shadows that it casts here. One common misconception with this is the boat icon. The boat icon is the pod's location at the front. So the back of your boat is actually back here because you're running a 21-foot bass boat here. So the end of this boat icon is not the back end of your boat. That is just the pod's location. So you can see some of this black shadow. That is actually the beam hitting my transom motor back there. And it's just casting a shadow off the back. So this is what some fish look like, bass specifically. There's all spotted bass here, but you can see the white dots there with the shadows behind them. I actually usually don't circle these 2 over here to the right just because I kind of see if people will see them. But these were all smaller fish, but people just because explaining why 360 is such a good tool, this school of fish moves around. Well, every pass, a lot of people would obviously see that one, but they would miss all these bigger fish over here. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 fish over here to the right that if you're not paying attention, that you're seeing actually refresh every time on the screen there. And these were the bigger fish. These were the 3+ pound fish there. And as they move, of course, it's constantly rotating there. Settings wise on a 360, same thing that I explained earlier. I run my settings usually on 12 to 14 on sensitivity and contrast, leave it around 10. Color palette is, of course, just a personal preference on side imaging, down imaging, and 2D. Me personally, I like the blue color palette on 360 and my side imaging on my Helix, but once again, that is all personal preference with this. The 360 speed, I like to keep on around 3. That's a good speed when you're going down a bank or spot locked on a particular object. The faster that you have that speed, the image is going to get distorted a little bit there. If you put it on less than 3, 2, or 1, it doesn't keep up with you. You know, it sweeps so slow that, you know, when you're fishing down a bank, you need it to at least sweep the same speed that you're going there. Any questions about 360? How many people have live sonar, forward-facing sonar on their boat? So this is the new like craze that everybody's obviously going through now is forward-facing sonar. So what forward-facing sonar is ours is Mega Live, and it is a basically accessory mount that goes on the shaft of your trolling motor, or a accessory like our target lock bracket, but it is a real-time fish catching machine is what it is. It is, it shows all the fish swim in real time, you know, shows your bait when you cast out there that you're reeling back to you. So everything is all obviously real time, and wherever you point the head of the trolling motor, that is where you're shooting out in forward mode here. I like to run mine on around 80 to 100 foot out, and wherever I point my trolling motor, that is where it's shooting out there. So you can tell how far things are based at the top bar up here. So we're looking, let's say 20 foot in this particular example, and then it's 10 foot down. So I run my range out to 100, so I can see it, pretty much everything swimming around live in real time there in front of the boat. With this. So this is kind of the new technology and new craze that everybody wants, just because it provides you so much information on fish behavior that we never knew. We automatically assumed fish did a few things, but this will tell you if there's, I mean, you can pan through an area and tell if there's anything there. When you don't have this, it's a little bit more time consuming there. Just makes it you know, much more easier. Another mode with this is down mode. Most people run it in forward, but this isn't a mode that you can just shoot straight down with this.
So those are the bass in there?
Yep, that's right. And you can see the bait right there.
Yeah, that's cool. They're all going over there, they're really good. Does it show you catching one?
Oh yeah, you can see them reeling it up and everything. And then the third mode is landscape. When you tilt the transducer up, it just basically is 120 degrees live. This works well in shallower water, but you can actually see the fish swimming around and kind of in front of you there.
Well, that's their shadow, right?
That's right, that's right. And then real quick, I just wanted to go over what's new on the Minn Kota side. This is our new Ultrex Quest motor that we redesigned. Pretty much all of Minn Kota has redesigned most of their motors this year, but for our area, this has been a really popular one. Our 24 volt, 36 volt dual Ultrex Quest, it is a brushless motor. So one motor caters to 24 or 36 volt option here. The biggest thing with this is you'll notice right off the bat how much more quieter this motor is and much more power and efficient this motor is compared to the older permanent magnet style. We're still offering the permanent magnet style motors just because to serve two different price points there, because we still want to have a really cost efficient spot lock motor. But if you want the top of the line brushless, we're obviously offering that as well. Come see me if you want a little bit more information about all of our brushless. If you don't have an Ultrex, or you have a Tarova or a Power Drive or a Bay Boat or whatever, we have all that information at our booth. So come see us on that, and we'll go over whatever trolling motor or whatever boat that fits your needs there. One cool feature this year that they incorporated with our Quest motors is if you don't have lithium batteries that have an app that you can see your voltage, if you're still running lead acid batteries, when you get a Quest motor, you can program what battery type you have. So I have 3 lead acid, put my amp hours in there, and it automatically tells you your voltage, your runtime, and your battery percentage based on the speed that you're going. So you can look here and it'll say time to empty, and it may say plus or minus 24 hours, or it'll give you a dead specific time that your batteries are gonna run out there. So with lead acid, we've never really had any opportunity to see what my voltage is on my trolling motor with lead acid, and now you do. Yep. So that's one cool feature with the Quest motors. Most lithium, of course, have apps now that you can provide this information, but there is still a lot of people that are running lead acid batteries that they can get this information on lithium or lead acid. Questions?
Let me ask you, how much power does the Helix locator for?
The Helix?
Yeah.
Which model do you have? Probably I think it's a little over 2 amps on the Helix 9. 2.1 maybe, 2.3. It's not that much on the amp.
All right, can you run them things out dry? Something on cardboard or something, program them or whatever?
Yeah.
Don't run dry?
Nope. You can run them. You can put them in, you just put it in normal mode. If you want to play with it, you can put it in simulation mode, and it'll actually it'll be like you're actually out there in the water, and it'll provide that. But everything you adjust in simulation won't adjust to your normal mode. So if you want to adjust your settings and sensitivity and all this stuff, make sure if you want it to roll over when you're out there on the water, make sure to keep it in normal mode. Because if anything you adjust in simulation will not, when you swap it back over to normal, it's just going to be like, you got it out of the box.
On the Mega Live, there's a setting in there called dynamic contrast.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the update to 1.30,
Mm-hmm.
and they were saying like for shallow water or deep water, whatever, to adjust that. What exactly is dynamic contrast?
It just adds a little bit more, I guess. It clears out a little bit of the fuzz in the screen. It's just an extra contrast setting. I'll show you, just come and see me at the booth and I'll show you kind of what the different options are. But there's also an auto sensitivity and contrast. I leave my dynamic contrast, usually turn it off, and then just adjust my sensitivity and contrast. Because I like to see your bait tracking better. You want a higher sensitivity, lower contrast with a little bit of fuzz in the screen. You can see your bait further. When you clear all that up and you have a clean, pretty screen, it is harder to see your bait at distance. So
There was in that, on the web page from it,
Mhm.
it showed on there to go to different settings if you
Yep.
want to see the bait.
Correct.
Don't see the bait or water the
That's
water
right.
clarity is.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
On there where you read the battery,
Mm-hmm.
is that on the app on the phone? Or?
It is not. You have to link it to a Humminbird unit. As long as your Ultrex is linked up to your Humminbird, it will show up on the your Helix. So I'm assuming they connected yours to your Humminbird. So the way you get to that, if you go to menu twice under the accessory tab, you'll see Minn Kota motor settings, and you'll see battery monitoring at the bottom of that. You'll just probably need to set it up on yours. Any more questions?
On that water column, it shows directly under the boat.
Mm-hmm.
What is the width of that?
The water column sensitivity?
The width of it, is that, it shows up in dark? Does it determine on how deep you're at as far as the width of it?
Yes. It all depends on what depth you're in.
So you really can't tell how wide that is.
Correct. Thanks everybody for coming. We'll be, I think we're in booth 28, I believe, or 26, as soon as you come in through the door. So if you have any more questions, come see us in the booth. We've got every Humminbird unit on display. So we can.
On some of the batteries, some people try to disconnect the charger with a charge or sometimes.
So a lot of people will flip the breaker. You'll have a breaker, you can flip it and then charge it up. Yeah. Yep.
Does it matter?
I have not seen personally that it matters. I don't do that with mine personally, but a lot of people do.
Disconnect your control motor,
You just hit the breaker. You just flip the breaker. Not gonna hurt it if you do that. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So all these are, you're getting away from that motor completely? Is that what you were saying? All this is gonna be a new motor?
It is a completely redesigned motor for this year. Yep. They're still making those.
Yeah.
Quick question, I got a Helix 9
Yep.
side image, and they sent me a transducer mount.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you're still with us, we're going to be doing seminars all weekend. We are down here at the Alabama Fishing Show and Expo at the venue in Gadsden, Alabama. We'd love to have you come on down. I can hear the rain outside, so yeah. But we got seminars. Matt Herron is going to be doing one tomorrow. Shaw Grigsby is going to be on later this afternoon. We've got a catfish seminar coming up here in just a few minutes. So they've got a great lineup of stuff throughout the weekend. And we're going to be bringing them all. So love to have you learn with us. If you got questions, drop them in there. We'll do the best we can to get some answers. But thanks again to the Alabama Fishing Show and Expo for putting on a great event. Once again, this is the second one. Last year was the first year. So, guys, I'm going to end this stream, and we will be back in just a little while for seminar number 2 on catfishing.